I always tell people that the hardest part of leaving wasn't the bruises. It wasn't the shouting. It wasn't even the moments when I thought he might actually kill me. No. The hardest part was the silence afterward. But before I get into that, let me tell you how everything truly began. Not the first time he hit me. People love to focus on that like it's the main event. No. I want you to understand how someone like me ends up in a place like that. How fear doesn't arrive all at once, it creeps in, drip by drip, until your entire life is soaking in it. My name is Reina, I'm 32 years old, and this is the story I spent years too afraid to say out loud. If you're listening right now, thank you. And if any part of this feels familiar, I hope my story shows you that you're not alone, and you're not imagining things, even if someone in your life has been trying to make you believe otherwise. It started on a Tuesday. Not a dramatic day. Not an anniversary or a birthday. Just a regular Tuesday, the kind where you expect nothing more than the usual routine. Except this Tuesday was the day I woke up and realized I didn't recognize my own life anymore. I was standing in the kitchen, stirring oatmeal that I didn't even want. I remember staring at it, watching the steam drift upward like it was trying to escape. And I envied it. Isn't that something? I was jealous of breakfast. Then I heard the footsteps behind me. Slow. Heavy. Controlled. Andre's footsteps. I froze. My shoulders tightened automatically, like muscle memory. That's what living in fear does. Your body learns to respond before your mind even catches up. Morning, he said, voice smooth as always. If anyone else heard him, they'd call it charming. Warm. Polite. But when you've lived with someone like him long enough, you learn to hear the things under the words, the tone, the temperature, the calculations. I didn't turn around. I just nodded at the oatmeal. He walked past me, opened the cabinet, and took down his favorite mug, the dark blue one I bought him for his birthday 3 years ago. He set it down on the counter a little too hard. Not enough to break it, not enough to call it anger, just enough to let me know he wasn't pleased. He didn't have to say anything. The message was clear. Did you wash this? He asked. Last night, I replied quietly. That sound, that single syllable, it landed on the air like a threat. And the thing is, he wasn't even angry. Not really. Andre didn't waste his energy on being obviously angry. That wasn't his style. His power came from control. From precision. From knowing exactly how to tighten the leash without letting anyone else see it. I put his oatmeal in a bowl and slid it onto the table. He didn't say thank you. He never did anymore. Early in the relationship, he used to appreciate everything. Every meal. Every gesture. Every small thing I did. Or at least he acted like he did. That's how it always starts. When he first hit me, I remember the shock more than the pain. I wasn't scared. I was confused. I kept thinking, this isn't who he is. Something must have happened. He must be stressed. He must be overwhelmed. Maybe I said something the wrong way. Because when someone hurts you, but they've spent months telling you how special you are, how different you are, how they've never felt the way they feel about you with anyone else, your mind can't reconcile the two things. So you pick the explanation that hurts the least. But that Tuesday morning? Something in me was different. I watched him sit down at the table, watched him eat in silence, the silence I used to fill with nervous chatter, nervous smiles, nervous attempts to keep things calm. But I didn't say anything this time. Maybe it was the way he slept the night before, taking up the entire bed while I clung to the edge with the blanket barely covering me. Maybe it was how he told me not to call my sister because it was better if I kept things private. Maybe it was how he checked my phone without asking, again. Maybe it was simply that I was tired. tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. After breakfast, he stood up, grabbed his coat, and walked toward the door. "You didn't iron my shirt the way I like," he said casually, as if he were commenting on the weather. That was his goodbye for the day. The click of the door behind him felt like the house exhaling, and me exhaling with it. My shoulders dropped, my heartbeat steadied, and I finally breathed freely. But it wasn't real freedom. It was the kind of freedom that only lasts until the keys jingle outside the door again. I sat at the table in silence for a long time. Just breathing. Just existing. Just trying to remember what it felt like to be myself. He didn't always hit me. People assume abuse looks like a fist or a slap. But the truth is, the emotional stuff? The isolation? The way he made me question everything, my memory, my feelings, my value? That was so much worse. And on that Tuesday morning, I realized he had slowly taken pieces of me for years, until I was trying to live a life that no longer felt like mine. I looked at the clock. 8:47 a.m. Every morning after he left, I had a window, a few hours of peace. A few hours where the house felt warmer, lighter, safer. I used to fill that time with chores, with cooking, with cleaning obsessively, trying to do everything perfectly so he'd have no reason to snap. But not that morning. Something in me whispered, "Raina, you can't keep pretending this is normal." I don't know where the thought came from. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was some small piece of my old self fighting to stay alive. Or maybe it was simply that silence, the heavy, suffocating silence, finally giving me room to hear my own voice. I poured his untouched oatmeal into the sink and let the water wash it away. Then I grabbed my phone and dialed a number I hadn't dialed in over a year. My sister, Lena. I didn't expect her to answer. She used to call me constantly before Andre convinced me she was too involved and didn't respect boundaries. Slowly, painfully, I pushed her away, like he wanted. But she picked up on the second ring. "Raina?" Her voice cracked just saying my name. And before I knew it, I started crying. Not the quiet tears I had learned to hide. Not the silent drops I wiped away before he came home. No. This was the kind of crying that feels like your soul finally bursting open after holding too much for too long. She didn't ask what was wrong. She already knew. "How long has it been happening?" she whispered. I couldn't even form the words. She waited. "Raina, tell me." And the truth fell out of me like a confession. Every day. Her breath hitched. "He's hurting you every day?" I didn't answer. She didn't need me to. "Listen to me," she said, voice suddenly steady. "You need help. You need a plan. And you're not doing this alone." That sentence. "You're not doing this alone." I didn't realize how badly I needed to hear it. We talked quietly for 20 minutes, about nothing and everything. About her kids. About work. About how she missed me. I didn't tell her the full truth yet. I wasn't ready. Not emotionally. Not safely. But that call cracked something open in me. For the first time in a long time, I felt hope. A small, fragile hope. But hope nonetheless. After we hung up, I cleaned the house quickly, not because I wanted to, but because I knew Andre would check everything when he got home. He always did. Even dust on the table could trigger an episode, as I used to call them to make them sound smaller than they were. Around 4:30 p.m., I heard it. The sound that made my chest tighten every time. The front door unlocking. His keys jingled, the door swung open, and his footsteps echoed through the hallway. My freedom ended. He walked in, wearing the same calm expression, but his shoulders were tense. I could tell he had a bad day. which meant I was about to have a worse one. He tossed his bag on the couch. "Where's dinner?" That one question felt like a countdown. "It's almost ready," I said. "Almost?" His voice sharpened like a blade. I nodded. I tried to smile. Tried to keep my voice steady. But maybe I didn't hide the fear well enough. Maybe he saw something in my eyes. Or maybe he simply felt like it. He stepped closer. Too close. My back touched the counter behind me. "Do I look like someone who wants to come home to almost anything?" he said softly, dangerously. And for the first time ever, I didn't apologize. I don't know why. It slipped out of me before I could stop it. I said, "It's almost ready, Andre. Just a few minutes." His jaw tightened. His nostrils flared. And his hand twitched, the twitch I had learned to fear. Usually, that was the moment I backed down. Usually, that was the moment I made myself small. But something inside me, maybe the phone call with Lena, maybe the exhaustion, maybe the small voice fighting to survive, refused to shrink. And he saw it. His eyes narrowed as if he were looking at a stranger. Then he stepped back. His face smoothed out like nothing happened. He walked to the living room and turned on the TV. That scared me more than if he had exploded. Because Andre didn't let things go. He saved them. Stored them. Waited for the perfect moment. And I knew, deep in my bones, that I had just crossed some invisible line. Dinner was quiet that night. Too quiet. But before he went to bed, he stood in the doorway and looked at me with a cold, knowing expression. "Don't ever speak to me like that again." Then he turned off the lights and walked away. I didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. Because that Tuesday night, I realized something crystal clear. If I didn't leave, and soon, I wouldn't survive this marriage. And that's where my story truly begins. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. I lay on my side with my back to Andre, staring at the faint, moonlit outline of the window blinds, listening to his slow, steady breathing. The kind of breathing that said he felt nothing. No tension. No guilt. No worry. Just the calm of someone who knew he controlled everything in the room, including me. My body was exhausted, but my mind was on fire. Every sound made me jump. Every shift of his weight made my pulse spike. I kept reminding myself to breathe quietly, move quietly, exist quietly. Because quiet was survival. By the time the sun pushed through the blinds, my eyes felt hot and gritty. My chest felt tight, like all the fear I'd swallowed over the years had finally reached some limit. I had no more space inside me for it. Andre stretched beside me, groaning like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, then sat up. "You up?" he asked. I nodded, even though he already knew the answer. He always knew when I hadn't slept. "Told you to stop drinking coffee at night," he said casually, as if the reason I couldn't sleep was caffeine and not the fear of him. That was his thing. He created the storm, then pretended the thunder was coming from somewhere else. He took a shower, got dressed, and left without another word. He didn't mention last night. Didn't mention the near incident. Didn't mention the way he cornered me. That was how Andre operated, silence before the strike. As soon as I heard his car drive away, I sat up with a sharp breath. My heart didn't slow down. In fact, I think it beat faster. I realized something terrifying. I had run out of time. Yesterday, something in me changed. I pushed back, even if only in tone, and Andre didn't forget things like that. He filed them away. He treated my boundaries like insubordination. And insubordination had consequences. I needed help. I needed a plan. I needed someone who cared whether I lived to see next week. My sister's call had opened a door, and I knew if I didn't walk through it now, I might not get another chance. I dialed Lena. She answered on the first ring, voice anxious. Raina? Are you okay? No, I whispered. I'm not. She was silent for a moment, not the kind of silence that hurts, but the kind that listens. What happened? She asked. I glanced around the house like Andre might appear out of thin air. Last night, he almost. I stopped. Saying it out loud made it feel too real, too big. But Lena didn't push. Do you need to leave? She asked softly. Something in her tone made my breath shake. I think so, I whispered. Then she did something I didn't expect. I'm coming to get you. No. I gasped. He'll see your car. He'll know. I don't care, she said firmly. You're my sister. Her certainty warmed my chest but also scared me. Andre's anger extended to anyone he saw as interfering. He could turn violent towards anyone who tried to help me. It's not safe, I said, voice trembling. You don't understand. If he sees you. Then tell me how, she interrupted. Tell me what you need. I will follow your lead. That was the first time in years someone gave me any power. I need time, I said. A few days. Maybe a week. I need to gather some things, hide some money. Do it quietly. Okay, she whispered. Then that's what we'll do. Just hearing her say we made my chest tighten. I wasn't alone. Not anymore. I spent the rest of the morning on autopilot. Cleaning. Folding clothes. Washing dishes that were already clean. I needed to look busy, needed the house to look exactly how Andre expected it when he walked in. Every chore was a countdown. When I swept the floor, I listed things I needed to pack. When I folded towels, I calculated how much cash I could hide without him noticing. When I wiped the counter, I memorized which neighbors were usually home during the day, the ones who might hear something if I screamed. Around noon, the front doorbell rang. I froze. No one rang the bell. Not friends. Not family. Not neighbors. Slowly, I walked to the peephole. It was Mrs. Wilkes from next door. The older woman with fluffy white hair and lavender perfume that always lingered in the hallway. She and her husband had lived in the building for 20 years. I hesitated before opening the door. Hi, sweetheart, she said gently. I brought some banana bread. She held a foil-covered plate, her soft eyes studying my face like she could see right through me. It made me uncomfortable, not because she was kind, but because kindness made my pain feel more obvious. Oh, thank you, I said, forcing a smile. She didn't hand me the plate. She looked over her shoulder down the hallway, then stepped just a little closer. Sweetheart, are you all right? She whispered. My breath caught. I blinked, slow and confused. Yes. Of course. She didn't believe me. She lowered her voice further. I hear things sometimes. In the evenings. Yelling, banging. I felt my stomach twist. I don't mean to pry, she continued softly, but if you ever need help, if you ever need a place to wait, or a phone, or anything, my door is always open. You understand me? Her eyes shimmered with something I hadn't seen in a long time, compassion. I nodded quickly, feeling my throat tighten. I understand. She smiled sadly and finally handed me the plate. Just knock twice, she whispered. Anytime. When I closed the door, I leaned against it, heart pounding. Someone had heard. Someone had noticed. Someone saw what I was trying so hard to hide. I didn't know whether to feel exposed or relieved. But that moment, that small gesture, told me two things. First, I wasn't imagining things. Second, I wasn't invisible. That afternoon, I began packing little things secretly. A few clothes rolled tightly and hidden in the bottom of a laundry basket. A copy of my birth certificate tucked inside an old book. A small envelope of cash taped under the bathroom sink. Every sound made me jump. Every passing car made me panic that Andre had come home early. But he didn't. Not that day. Which was good. Because I wasn't ready yet. Around 5:10 p.m., I heard his car pull in. My hands started shaking instantly. I wiped my palms on my jeans and rehearsed my lines in my head. Be calm. Be small. Be agreeable. The door swung open. He didn't say hello. He rarely did. He walked in with his usual controlled stride, not too fast, not too slow. He put his keys in the dish by the door, loosened his tie, and looked around, inspecting the house like an inspector looking for violations. His eyes lingered on the living room rug, checking if it was perfectly aligned. On the counter, checking if it was spotless. On the stove, checking if dinner was on time. My breath caught. "Dinner?" he said. "In the oven," I answered quietly. He nodded once. "Good." He walked to the bathroom, and the second he closed the door, my knees nearly buckled with relief. But that relief didn't last long. When he came out, his expression was different. Not angry. Not yelling. Worse. Cold. Detached. He walked up to me with slow, measured steps. I froze. He didn't touch me. Didn't shout. Didn't move aggressively. He simply said, "You've been distant." My stomach dropped. "No," I whispered. "I haven't." He held up one finger to silence me. "You didn't call me during your break today," he said. "You always call." God. He noticed that? My throat tightened. I was doing laundry. I lost track of time. He stared at me for a long moment, as scanning my face like a lie detector. Then he nodded slowly. "Don't let it happen again." He walked away. Just like that. But I knew what that meant. Andre's control wasn't random, it was strategic. Every small mistake was logged in his mind. Every deviation from routine was a disrespect. Every lie, even harmless ones, was an offense he kept score of. And he always collected. Dinner was quiet. He ate without speaking, without looking at me, without acknowledging anything. Afterward, he went to shower. I cleaned up quickly, heart racing, because I knew what came next. Evening was always the most dangerous time. When he came out of the bathroom, steam drifting behind him, he saw me wiping the table. He walked over slowly. Too slowly. My heartbeat thumped painfully in my chest. He placed a single hand on my cheek. A soft touch. Too soft. "You looked at me differently this morning," he murmured, voice calm, almost gentle. That terrified me more than shouting ever could. I didn't mean. "I don't care what you meant," he whispered. "I care what you do." His thumb grazed my cheekbone, and I fought the urge to flinch. "Are we clear?" "Yes," I whispered. His hand slid away, and he walked to the bedroom. And that night? It was worse than usual. I didn't scream. I never screamed. He didn't like noise. And I had learned how to stay quiet when it hurt. He always made sure the world never heard him. Even the walls wouldn't dare betray him. Hours later, after he fell asleep, I lay on the very edge of the bed again, body aching, mind shaking, heartbreaking. And for the first time in years, I made a promise to myself. I was leaving. Not thinking about leaving. Not planning to someday leave. No. I would leave. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. I didn't know what he would do when he realized. But I knew this much. If I stayed, the next time might be the last time. And I wasn't going to die in that house. I deserved to live. I deserved peace. I deserved more than surviving. And somewhere deep inside me, someone I thought I'd lost whispered, "Reina, it's time." Not in a dramatic way, not the kind of pain movies show, with blood or broken bones. This was the quieter kind. The kind you hide under long sleeves. The kind you can ignore if you breathe carefully and don't move too fast. The kind that teaches you how to stand up without using your arms, how to turn your body so the sore spots don't press against anything. I moved slowly, deliberately, trying not to wake him. Andre slept like a stone, heavy, still, unbothered. I used to envy that. Now it sickened me. I grabbed the rope from the chair, pulled it on, and stepped into the hallway. The house was cool and dim, the kind of quiet that could almost feel peaceful if I didn't know what it cost. I stood in the kitchen doorway for a few seconds, letting the silence settle. Yesterday, I'd made a promise. A loud promise inside my own head, louder than the footsteps, louder than the shouting, louder than the years of fear. I was leaving. Not someday. Not eventually. Not when things calmed down, because they never would. I was leaving. But wanting to leave and being able to leave were two different things. I learned that years ago, the first time I tried to pull away from him, before we were married, before the house, before he convinced me that I was too emotional and needed him. That morning, as I moved around washing dishes from the night before, I realized something important. Leaving wasn't going to be a single moment. It was going to be a series of small, strategic, careful steps. And every step had to be perfect. At 8:15, Andre walked into the kitchen, still tying his tie. I kept my face soft, my voice steady. "You want breakfast?" I asked. He studied me. Hard. Like he was trying to see if I was still upset, or scared, or rebellious. But I'd learned how to shield my emotions around him, how to tuck them under my ribs like a pocket of hidden air. He nodded once. Eggs. I made them. Perfectly. The way he liked, soft yolk, pepper only on one side. Not because I wanted to, but because peace was a performance. Survival was a performance. If playing the role meant getting through another morning safely, then I would play it until I had my chance to break free. He ate quickly. Barely spoke. Before he left, he turned toward me and studied my face again. "You look tired." "I didn't sleep well," I said honestly. He stepped closer. Too close. "You should sleep better," he murmured, brushing a curl away from my face. "You know I worry about you." A lie wrapped in warmth, his specialty. He kissed my forehead like a loving husband. Then he walked out the door. I didn't move until I heard his car engine fade away. Then I grabbed my phone and called Lena. She answered immediately, like she was holding the phone in her hand just waiting for me. "Reina? You okay?" "No," I whispered. "Last night was bad." "What did he do?" I swallowed hard. My throat still felt tight. "I can't talk about that part yet." "That's okay," she said gently. "You don't have to. Just tell me what you need." "I need to leave. Soon." She didn't breathe for a moment. Okay. So what's the plan? I sat on the couch, pulling my knees to my chest slightly, careful not to wince. I need documents. Birth certificate, passport. I need cash. Clothes. I need everything hidden. I need an exit that doesn't look suspicious. Reina, she said softly, you're talking like someone who has already made up their mind. I have. I heard her inhale sharply. Maybe out of fear, maybe out of relief. Maybe both. She lowered her voice. Where is he right now? At work. Are you safe right this second? Yes. Then listen carefully, she said. Start small. Don't change your routine. Not yet. He watches everything. Pack things he won't notice missing. Move them a little at a time. And Reina? When the day comes, don't tell him. My eyes stung. Of course I wouldn't tell him. He'd never let me go. She hesitated. Do you want to stay with me when you leave? I pictured her small apartment, 2 kids, a husband who worked night shifts, toys scattered everywhere. I would be welcome there, I had no doubt. But staying there would put her in danger. And Andre would go looking. He would go everywhere I might go. I can't come straight to you, I whispered. He'll find me. Where then? I don't know yet. But I'll figure it out. You won't be alone. That sentence again. It kept me afloat. After we hung up, I began step 1 of my plan. I moved quietly through the house, checking drawers, shelves, cabinets. Not in a searching way, just a mental inventory. I had to know where everything was so I could pack without leaving traces. I found my birth certificate in the file drawer. I had forgotten it was even there. I tucked it between 2 old sweaters in the back of my closet. Later, I would move it again. I found an envelope with $200 in Andre's desk. I didn't touch it, not today. But the knowledge that it was there gave me a small spark of courage. I found an old burner phone I used to have before he insisted we share phones to build trust. I plugged it in. It still worked. That became step 2. The rest of the day was filled with tiny tasks that didn't look like anything, but meant everything. I created a small emergency bag inside a grocery tote under the bathroom sink. It had 3 pairs of underwear, 1 shirt, a toothbrush, deodorant, and a charger for the burner phone. I moved some of my savings, cash I had hidden over the years in small amounts, into a single envelope. I taped it underneath the bottom drawer in my closet. Andre never used that drawer. I took pictures of important documents on my phone, then backed them up on the burner phone. Every action was small. Invisible. Careful. But every action was also freedom, inch by inch. At 2:30 p.m., I heard a knock on the door. My heart jumped, but in a good way this time. It was Mrs. Wilkes. She held a small plastic container, smiling gently. I made too much soup. Thought you might want some. That wasn't why she came. She stepped inside just long enough to set the container on the table, then leaned closer. I don't know what's going on, she whispered, but if you ever need me to call someone, or if you ever need to leave quickly, knock twice like I said. Her eyes softened. Women like me, we see things. We hear things. And I've lived long enough to know the difference between an argument and fear. My throat tightened. I could barely speak. Thank you, I whispered. She nodded with understanding, then left. And as the door clicked shut, something inside me shifted. I had an escape route in the building. A witness. Someone who cared. At 4:57 p.m., I heard Andre's car turning into the parking lot. My blood pressure spiked instantly. I tucked the emergency bag deeper under the sink, smoothed my hair, checked the kitchen, and stood with a calm expression practiced in the mirror. When the door opened, he walked in, removing his coat. "You didn't call me during lunch again," he said first thing. My stomach twisted. Twice. He had noticed twice. "I didn't take lunch," I said simply. Another lie. Another risk. He narrowed his eyes slightly, but didn't say anything. Instead, he walked toward me slowly. I fought the instinct to step back. That would make him suspicious. He stopped inches from me and gently lifted my chin with 2 fingers. "You know I care, right?" he asked softly. "Yes. And I need you to be honest with me." "I am." He studied my face for a long moment. Too long. Then he kissed my forehead again, the same gesture he used when he wanted to disarm me. But I didn't feel disarmed. I felt trapped. That night during dinner, he talked about work as if everything were normal. As if he hadn't cornered me the night before. As if he hadn't tightened his control today. But the way he watched me, it was different. Sharper. Suspicious. And at one point, he asked casually, "You didn't talk to anyone today, did you?" My heart nearly fell out of my chest. "No," I said softly. He nodded slowly. "Good. You know how people like to get into our business." I swallowed hard. "I know." After dinner, he sat on the couch and watched TV. I folded clothes on the table near him, always within his line of sight. Not because I needed to, but because looking busy kept his temper steady. Later that night, when we went to bed, he pulled me close like everything was normal. Like he hadn't hurt me the night before. Like nothing was wrong. I felt trapped against his chest, his arm heavy over my waist. I stared at the wall in the dark, quietly counting my breaths to stay calm. But then, something unexpected happened. He whispered, "I don't like when you change." My breath froze. "What?" I whispered. "You've been different. I can feel it." My spine tingled with fear. He felt it. He sensed it, the shift in me. "I'm just tired," I whispered. He exhaled slowly, like he didn't fully believe me. "Don't make me worry," he murmured. And then he fell asleep. But I didn't. I lay there, eyes open, heart pounding, mind racing. Because something was becoming very clear. I wasn't the only one planning something. He was watching me. Tracking me. Testing me. The window for escape was closing fast. And if I didn't leave soon, he would take even more control. Maybe all of it. Maybe my life. That night, as I stared into the darkness, I whispered to myself, "Reina, you have days. Not weeks. Days." And the next morning? The real plan would begin. By Wednesday morning, the air in the house felt different. Not heavier. Not lighter. Just tight. Like the walls were holding their breath along with me. I moved slowly through the kitchen, making breakfast the way I always did, acting like everything was normal. Acting like my ribs didn't ache. Acting like the previous night hadn't happened. Acting like I hadn't spent hours staring at the ceiling, planning how to disappear. The sound of Andre's footsteps behind me made every nerve in my body tighten. He said nothing at first. He just stood there, watching me crack eggs into the skillet. His silence was too deliberate, too focused, the kind of silence abusers use when they're waiting for a mistake. I could feel his gaze burning into the back of my neck. "Morning," I said, forcing my voice steady. He didn't answer right away. Then, softly, "You're up early." I'd been up all night, but I didn't say that. I couldn't sleep. Again? Yeah. He stepped closer until I could feel the heat of him behind me. I kept stirring the eggs, trying not to stiffen. "You know," he said quietly, "you've been off." My stomach dropped. Off how? He touched my shoulder. Not gently, just slow, controlled pressure that sent a warning through my spine. "You've been distant," he murmured. "Distracted. Forgetful. Forgetful." The worst word he could use. Because in Andre's mind, forgetfulness meant disrespect. Disrespect meant punishment. "I'm fine," I whispered. "Just tired." He studied me for a long second, too long, then stepped back. "Make sure you nap today," he said. "I don't like when you're like this." When you're like this. Like I was faulty. Like I was malfunctioning. Like being scared of him was somehow an inconvenience for him. I finished his breakfast, heart still racing. He sat at the table and watched me move around the kitchen. Not eating. Not speaking. Just watching. Calculating. Trying to read something on my face. When he finally got up, he stood in front of me and cupped my cheek. "You know I love you, right?" "Yes," I whispered, the lie familiar on my tongue. "And I need you to stay focused on us. On this home. No one else." My breath hitched. That wasn't a statement. That was a warning. Then he kissed my forehead, the same gentle kiss he used whenever he wanted to erase the evidence of what he'd done the night before, grabbed his coat, and walked out. The moment I heard his car leave the complex, I collapsed into the nearest chair. My hands shook so violently I couldn't hold my phone at first. He knew. He felt the shift in me. He sensed I was pulling away, even if I hadn't said a word. And that meant I didn't have days left. I had hours. I dialed Lena. She picked up instantly. "Raina?" "He knows," I whispered. "What do you mean he knows?" "He's watching me. He's checking everything. He keeps saying I'm acting different. He's testing me." Lena inhaled sharply. "Okay. Okay. Then you need to leave sooner than we planned." "I know. Do you want to come today?" My breath trembled. "I can't." He'd check the cameras. He'd know if my location changed. He'd get alerts. I need to disable them first. "Raina," she whispered, "I'm scared for you." "I know," I said. "I'm scared too." Then I told her something I'd never said out loud. "If I don't leave soon, I don't think he's going to let me." Silence. Then her voice cracked. "You are leaving. Do you hear me? You are getting out. I promise." Her certainty made my chest ache. We talked for a few minutes, small details, timelines, safe places she could help me find. But there was no solid plan yet. Not one that wouldn't put us both in danger. When we hung up, I took the burner phone out from under the dresser where I'd hidden it. I turned it on and put it in my pocket. Then I got to work. The first thing I needed to do was disable his tracking. Andre never admitted he tracked me, but I wasn't stupid. He always knew where I was. How long errands took. Whether I stopped anywhere unexpected. Whether I removed my phone from the house. He phrased it like caring. It was surveillance. I opened the settings on my phone and confirmed it. Location sharing. Device monitoring. Linked accounts. He had access to all of it. I felt my chest tighten. This was worse than I realized. I couldn't just turn it off. That would alert him instantly. I couldn't leave the phone at home either. He'd call, I wouldn't answer, he'd come home early. So I did something else. I tucked my real phone inside a kitchen drawer, not hidden, just placed somewhere safe. Then I turned on the burner phone and slipped it into the pocket of the cardigan I always wore in the house. When Andre checked my location later, and it would show home. The real phone wouldn't move. The burner phone would move with me. That was step 1. Step 2, I needed documents, all of them. Birth certificate, passport, insurance cards, bank papers. I gathered them quietly, heart racing with every sound. I placed them into a thin folder, then hid the folder inside the lining of an old backpack. Step 3, money. I retrieved the cash I'd hidden over months, $280 in total. Then I went to Andre's desk and stared at the envelope with his money inside. $200. I shouldn't take it. If he noticed, the consequences would be catastrophic. But I needed it. I took $60. Not enough for him to notice right away. Enough for me to survive the first few days. My hands shook as I put the envelope back. Step 4, clothing. I hid 2 pairs of jeans and 2 shirts between the towels in the linen closet. I would grab them on my way out. Step 5, Mrs. Wilkes. I needed her as an emergency exit, someone who could cover me if Andre came home early. I knocked twice on her door. She opened almost instantly. "Sweetheart," she whispered. I lowered my voice. "Mrs. Wilkes. I might need help soon." Her eyes softened with devastating understanding. "Oh, child," she whispered, taking my hand gently. "Whenever you're ready. My door is open. Always." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. Her kindness almost broke me. When I returned home, something was off. A feeling. A shift in the air. I checked the bedroom. The closet door was slightly open. I always closed it. My stomach twisted with nausea, not because of what I saw, but because I knew exactly what it meant. Andre had come home during lunch. And he'd been looking for something. He was checking. Testing. Searching for proof of whatever he felt changing inside me. My throat tightened. He was already suspicious. I forced myself to keep moving. I straightened the closet, smoothed the clothes, made the bed. All the things I knew he checked. Then I heard it. A car door slamming outside. Too early. Way too early. My heart stopped. I ran to the window, just enough to peek. It was Andre. He never, ever came home before 5:30. It was barely 2:45. My pulse skyrocketed. He was testing me. Catching me off guard. Trying to see what I did when he wasn't supposed to be home. I grabbed my phone, the burner, and shoved it into my pocket. I moved quickly to the kitchen and pretended to be wiping the counter. The door opened. He stepped in slowly, silently, observing everything. My posture. My hands. My breathing. He scanned the room like he expected to catch me doing something. "What are you doing?" he asked casually. "Cleaning." "Why isn't your phone on you?" My heart seized. "It's charging," I said quickly. "Battery died earlier." He walked over to the drawer where I hid it and opened it. He saw it charging. He nodded slowly. Then he looked at me in a way that made my blood run cold. "You didn't answer my text," he said. I didn't hear it. He watched me, eyes dark and unreadable. "You're lying." My breath froze. He took a step closer. You're lying to me, Reina. And I want to know why. My mind raced for an answer, any answer, but everything sounded like a risk. I was in the shower, I whispered. He didn't believe me. I could see it. Something in his face shifted. Then, calmly, too calmly, he said, "Come here." My feet wouldn't move. I said, "Come here." I stepped forward slowly, my chest trembling. He reached out and held my jaw gently with his hand, not harshly, but firmly enough that I couldn't look away. "You don't keep things from me," he murmured. "Ever." I nodded, unable to make words. "Good," he said, releasing me. Then he walked to the bedroom, grabbed something from his drawer, and left the house again. No explanation. No warning. Just gone. As soon as his car pulled away, I collapsed onto the floor, shaking so hard I could barely breathe. He didn't hit me. Not this time. But that wasn't what scared me. What scared me was the look in his eyes, the certainty, the calculation, the recognition that something in me had changed. And I knew then, with a clarity that sliced right through me. He wasn't going to let me leave peacefully. I would have to run. Soon. And when I did, I might only get one shot. The hours after Andre left were the longest I'd lived through in years. Not because anything happened. Because nothing did. Silence can be more terrifying than violence when you don't know what it's hiding. I sat on the couch, knees pulled to my chest, fingers digging into the fabric. My whole body trembled in small, uncontrollable shivers. Not from cold, from fear threaded so deeply through my system it felt like electricity. He knew. He didn't have proof yet, but he could feel it. Control was Andre's oxygen, any shift in me was a threat. And he responded to threats with precision. I had to move. Now. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Not once I finished planning. Now. I wiped my face, took a deep breath, and forced myself to stand. My legs felt weak, like they didn't belong to me. But I moved anyway. Because if I didn't leave while he was out, I might never get another chance. I grabbed the backpack with documents inside, shoved in the envelope of cash, took the burner phone, and opened a linen closet to retrieve the hidden clothes. My hands shook as I stuffed everything inside. For a moment I just stood there in the middle of the hallway, clutching the straps of the backpack. I should have run straight for the door. Every instinct told me to. But fear rooted me in place. What if he came back early again? What if he was testing me? What if he was parked down the street watching? What if he'd left something behind, a camera, a recorder, something I hadn't found yet? I swallowed hard. Running blindly wasn't an option. This had to be smart. My first stop was Mrs. Wilkes. I walked to her door and knocked twice, the signal she told me to use. The door opened almost instantly. She pulled me inside gently but quickly, closing the door with care. "Oh Lord, sweetheart, you're white as a sheet." Her hands cupped my arms, grounding me. "What happened?" "He knows something is wrong," I whispered, voice trembling. "He came home early. He checked my phone. He watched me. He knows." Her face softened with heartbreak and fear. "Are you ready to go?" she asked quietly. I nodded, even though my stomach twisted at the thought. "Yes." "Where?" she asked. "Do you have somewhere safe?" "My sister," I said. "But not yet. Not right away. He'll look for me there." "Then what's the plan?" My voice faltered. I don't have a full one." She motioned for me to sit at her kitchen table, placing a glass of water in front of me. Her apartment smelled like lavender and cinnamon, safe, warm, comforting. Everything my home hadn't felt like in years. The old woman sat across from me, folding her hands. "I've been where you are," she said softly. "Not the same way, but close enough." I left with nothing but my purse and a bruise around my ribs. Took me 2 tries before I stayed gone. I stared at her, shocked. She'd never hinted at anything like that. "I don't know why you noticed," I whispered. "Because I learned how to listen," she said. "And because fear has a sound." My eyes filled instantly. "Tell me what you need," she said. "Tell me how I can help you get out." "I need time," I whispered. "A few hours. And I need to get out the back way. He checks the parking lot cameras sometimes. And he'll look for my car first. I can't take it." "You won't," she said. "Take mine." My heart nearly stopped. "No. I can't take your car. If he sees you without it." "He won't," she said firmly. "I'll say it wouldn't start. I'll say it's in the shop. I'll say whatever I have to. And I'll keep my curtains closed so he can't see in." I shook my head. "I can't drag you into this." "You're not dragging me," she said gently. "I'm stepping in." She squeezed my hand, and the simple human warmth of it almost broke me. "Go," she whispered. "While he's gone. You don't know how long you have." I didn't argue. Not anymore. Somewhere deep inside me, under the fear, under the trauma, under the exhaustion, something had shifted. Courage wasn't a roar. It was this, a quiet, shaking breath followed by a choice. I stood, slipped the backpack onto my shoulders, and hugged her tightly. "Thank you," I whispered. "Be careful," she murmured. "And call me when you're safe." I nodded and moved toward her door. She opened it just a crack and looked into the hallway. When it was clear, she motioned to me. "Go, sweetheart." I stepped out quietly, walked down the hallway, and took the stairs instead of the elevator, fewer chances of running into anyone. My pulse hammered in my ears the entire way down. When I reached the bottom floor, I slipped through the side exit, the one Andre always complained was too drafty, and headed behind the building. Mrs. Wilkes' car was parked by the fence near the dumpsters. Not a place Andre would check. I got inside, locked the doors, and sat there shaking. I didn't start the car right away. I just breathed, staring at the steering wheel, trying not to cry. Not out of fear this time, out of disbelief. For the first time in years, I was outside the house, without his permission. Free. Even if only for a moment. I turned the key. The engine started. My breath hitched. I pulled out of the lot, keeping my head down as I drove down the street. My hands were shaking so badly I had to grip the wheel tight to keep it steady. Every car behind me felt like it might be him. Every stop sign felt like a trap. Every red light felt like eternity. I didn't stop driving until I pulled into the parking lot of a grocery store 12 miles away, a place far enough that Andre wouldn't expect me to be there. I parked at the far end and finally let myself cry. Not loud. Not messy. Just a quiet, trembling release of years I'd held inside. But I couldn't stay long. I wiped my face, pulled myself together, and grabbed the burner phone. I called Lena. She answered on the first ring. "Raina? Are you okay? Where are you?" "I left," I whispered. "I'm out." Oh my God, she sounded like she was both crying and trying to breathe. "Where are you right now?" "About 12 miles out. At a grocery store." "Stay put," she said quickly. "I'll come to you." "No," I said. "Not yet." If he checks your phone or sees your location change suddenly. I don't care. You have kids, Lena, I whispered. You have a life. I'm not dragging you into danger. Her breath shook. Raina, you're my sister. I'm not letting you do this alone. I'm not alone, I said softly. You're with me. Just not physically. That's enough. She cried quietly for a moment. Okay. What's the plan now? I can't go home. I can't go to your house. I need a safe place for tonight. Just one night. There are shelters, she said. Or I can get you into a hotel under my name. A hotel, I whispered. Somewhere far enough. Somewhere he wouldn't think I'd go. Okay. I'll book it right now. Text me the zip code and I'll find something close. I did. Within 10 minutes, she had sent me an address and checked me in under her name. A room. A door with a lock. A space where Andre couldn't reach me. I felt another wave of disbelief wash over me. Then I heard a sound. A car driving slowly behind mine. I froze. My heart leaped into my throat. It wasn't him. It wasn't his car. But fear didn't care about logic. I pulled out of the parking lot and followed the GPS to the hotel. Each mile felt like a battle. When I finally arrived, I parked in the back lot where cameras weren't aimed. I slipped inside the building quickly, head down, hoodie pulled tightly around my face. The room was on the second floor. I unlocked the door with shaking hands, stepped inside, and locked it behind me. Then I leaned against the door, breathing hard. The room smelled like cheap carpet and old air freshener, but to me, it smelled like freedom. I walked to the bed and sat down slowly. My body felt light. Shaky. Unreal. I was safe. For the first time in years, I was truly safe. But safety wasn't the end of the story. Because as I stared at the wall, trying to calm down, the realization hit me hard. Andre wasn't going to let this go. He wasn't the type of man to shrug and move on. He would look for me. He would question neighbors. He would check cameras. He would check my location. He would retrace every step. He would tear apart our apartment looking for clues. He would get angry, the kind of anger that didn't just want control, but revenge. And if he found me before I built a real plan? I knew exactly what he was capable of. I curled into myself, hugging my knees, whispering to the empty room. You left. You made it out. You did it. But deep down, I knew the truth. Leaving him wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. The first night in the hotel was the longest night of my life. Not because anything happened, but because anything could. Every sound outside the door made my blood jolt. Every car that passed outside my window made my muscles tense. Every vibration from the burner phone made my heart thud painfully in my chest. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time, staring at the hotel door like it might burst open at any moment. Eventually, exhaustion won. Not sleep, just silence. The kind of silence that settles in the bones after years of trying to survive someone else's storms. Around 3 a.m., I drifted into a light sleep only to wake up to the same fear pressing down on my chest like weight. But morning came. And with it, clarity. I stood in front of the mirror, looking at my reflection in the harsh hotel light. My eyes were puffy. My hair was messy. My skin looked washed out from crying, stress, and sleeplessness. But underneath all that, I saw someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Someone alive. Someone fighting. Someone who wasn't done yet. I took a deep breath and picked up the burner phone. There were 3 missed calls from Lena. I called back immediately. "Oh my God, Reina," she said, breathless and panicked. "Are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm safe," I whispered. "I made it through the night." "Did he call you? Did he show up? Did he?" "No," I said. "Not yet." She exhaled shakily. "Okay. Good. Good. Next step is going to the police. You need to file a report." My chest tightened at the thought. I'd avoided the police for years, partly because Andre had convinced me they wouldn't believe me, partly because I had convinced myself. "Andre will find out," I whispered. "He can't stop you," she said firmly. "He won't have to," I whispered. "He'll just react." Silence stretched on the other end. Then she said, "Reina, you're out. You're safe. This is the time to finally protect yourself legally." I stared at the hotel curtains. "I'm scared." "You're supposed to be," she said gently. "But fear doesn't mean you can't move." I swallowed hard. "Come to my house," Lena said. "We'll go together. First the police, then we'll look into protective orders, shelters, advocates, everything." I hesitated. "Reina," she whispered, "let me help you." I finally said the thing I'd been avoiding. "I need to grab something from the apartment." Silence. Then, "What?" "I didn't bring my meds," I whispered. "And my grandma's necklace. The one she left me. I can't leave it behind." "You can replace medication," she said. "You cannot risk going back there." "But the necklace," my voice cracked. "It's all I have from her." Lena's voice softened painfully. "I know, baby. I know. But I can't lose you trying to save a memory." My throat tightened. She sighed. "Okay. If you're going back, you're not going alone. I'm meeting you there." "No," I said quickly. "You can't. If Andre shows up. If he shows up, I'm calling the police. Now stop arguing." Her voice left no room for debate. "Okay," I whispered. We agreed to meet near the building, not in the parking lot, not near the entrance, just a block away, where we could watch from a distance before making a move. I checked out of the hotel, returned the key, and drove slowly back toward my old life. Toward danger. Toward fear. But also toward closure. As I neared the block where Lena wanted to meet, I saw her car instantly. She jumped out the moment she saw me, grabbing me in a tight hug. "You scared me to death," she whispered. "I scared myself too," I said. We waited for 10 minutes, watching for Andre's car, watching for signs he was home. Nothing. "Okay," Lena said. "Let's go." We walked quietly down the sidewalk, stopping behind a tree that gave us a partial view of my building. Everything looked normal. Still. Silent. "Text me when you're inside," Lena said. "I'll stay out here watching. I won't take more than 5 minutes." 4, she corrected. "If you aren't out in 4, I'm coming in." I hugged her quickly and headed toward the side entrance, the same one I used when I escaped. My legs felt like they were made of sand. The hallway was quiet. Lights dim. Air still. I unlocked the apartment door and slipped inside. And then I froze. Nothing looked wrong. But nothing looked right either. A drawer slightly open. A chair moved half a foot from where I left it. A pillow on the couch flipped upside down. He'd been here. Probably looking for signs of where I went. I moved quickly, grabbing my medication from the bathroom cabinet, grabbing the necklace from the jewelry box, stuffing both inside my pocket. Then I heard a sound. A car door. Firm. Familiar. Then another sound. Heavy footsteps moving fast. My blood turned cold. He was home. My heart pounded violently in my chest. I grabbed my bag, ran to the door, and stopped myself just before opening it because footsteps were already in the hallway. Right outside. I ducked into the kitchen, holding my breath. The front door handle jiggled. Then Andre's voice. Reina. My entire body seized. I know you're in there, he said calmly. Too calmly. He wasn't guessing. He wasn't checking. He knew. The handle shook again, harder this time. You think you can hide from me? He pounded on the door so hard the frame rattled. I looked around frantically, no back exit, no escape route. He banged again. Then again. The last slam sounded like he was going to break the door open. My breath came in silent gasps. I pulled out my phone and texted Lena one word. Help. Almost instantly, she replied. I'm coming now. Police on the way. Get out if you can. I couldn't. There was no out. I crouched under the kitchen counter, gripping my grandmother's necklace in my fist. Andre's voice darkened. You walk out on me once, shame on you. A hard silence. You walk out on me twice, well. He chuckled coldly. You won't make it to 3. Tears streamed down my face silently. Then, a crash. The front door splintered. He forced his way in. I felt his presence before I saw him, heavy, electric, suffocating. His footsteps moved through the living room, slow and intentional. Baby, he called softly, where are you hiding? I pressed myself tighter against the cabinet, chest trembling, breath shallow. Another step. Then another. And then. Reina. His voice was right around the corner. I squeezed my eyes shut. The kitchen doorway darkened as his shadow grew. And then. A shout. Police. Hands where we can see them. I gasped silently. Andre cursed loudly. 2 officers burst into the apartment, guns drawn. Andre stumbled back with hands raised, shouting at them. What the hell are you doing in my house? This is a domestic violence call, one officer barked. We received an emergency message. Step back and stay where you are. I didn't do anything. Andre yelled. Step back. I finally crawled out, shaking violently. The moment the officers saw me, their eyes softened. Ma'am, are you okay? I nodded, unable to speak. Andre turned toward me, expression dark and wild. I knew you'd do something like this, he snarled. I knew you'd. Sir, step back. Within moments, he was in cuffs. Still yelling. Still cursing. Still blaming me. But he was restrained. He couldn't reach me. For the first time in years, he couldn't touch me. I sank to my knees as the officers escorted him out. Lena burst into the room seconds later and ran to me. I collapsed into her arms, sobbing into her shoulder. It's over, she whispered. It's over, Reina. You're free. But freedom didn't feel like fireworks. Or relief. Or victory. It felt like shaking hands. And tears. An air I didn't know how to breathe yet. We left the apartment together. I didn't look back. Months later. I'm still healing. Still rebuilding. Still learning what peace feels like. Some days I wake up shaking. Some days I forget to breathe. Some days I'm scared of shadows that look like him. But I'm alive. I'm safe. I'm in therapy. I'm working again. I'm living with Lena and her kids. I laugh now, not all the time, not fully yet, but I laugh. I wear my grandmother's necklace every day. A reminder of who I am. A reminder of what I survived. And I'm telling my story because silence almost killed me. Maybe my voice will save someone else. Maybe it'll help someone recognize the signs. Or leave sooner. Or reach out for help before things get worse. And now, I turn to the audience, yes, you watching, listening, sitting wherever you are, and I speak directly to you in my own voice. If you're living in fear, if someone is hurting you, controlling you, isolating you, please listen to me. You deserve safety. You deserve peace. You deserve love that doesn't break you. Leaving isn't easy. It isn't simple. And it isn't safe without a plan. But you're not alone. I pause, letting myself breathe through the emotion rising in my chest. And if this story meant something to you, if you want more stories that shed light on what people survive every day, please support this channel. My voice softens but stays firm. Subscribe, share, and keep showing up. Your support helps us reach people who need these stories the most. Thank you for listening. Truly.